from the stands there so I could run down as if it was The Price is Right. It's my turn to shine. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me here. I know you didn't invite me here, but someone must have done. So on your behalf, let me see if I can get my stuff up. Okay, community organising. Put your hand up if you've heard the term community organising. Put your hand up if you think it sounds like a really good idea. Okay, kind of better than I thought. Okay, I might ask the same question at the end if I remember. Yeah, my name's Beck. I work at the University of Glasgow where I teach community development, and one of the things that we've taught for many years is community organising as a kind of counterpoint to some of the stuff that happens certainly in the west of Scotland. So we come as myself and my colleague Rod Purcell, we're writing a book at the moment on community organising, having a look at it, at how it manifests itself across the world, which is quite interesting. There's a lot of it about. Some of it is making a huge difference. And so it's making a huge difference. It's clearly on the government's agenda. It's something that is here at least for a while. And so it's something that we need to have a kind of a thought through position on. And so I'm hoping to help us think through what some of the values, the aspirations, the goals, the methods of community organising is, and to see if there are opportunities for community development practitioners to get involved and to kind of redeem it. If it needs redeeming. Oh, that's me. And that's today. This is all working well. Okay, I'm posing some questions out. I wouldn't be arrogant enough to come down and tell you what to think, but I'm saying maybe community development and community organising have some complementary goals. Community development is to bring about equality and inclusion through social, economic, environmental and political change based on social justice and collective community action. That's our stuff, isn't it? That's what we say. That's from the National Occupational Standards. Always very important to refer to your sources, otherwise you lose points. Certainly in my world that happens anyway. So that's from the National Occupational Standards. So that's the kind of goal that underpins the type of work that we are involved in as community workers. Community organising's goals are this. The goal of every community organisation is to build power. Feel that. It's to build power, people power, so that the community can determine its needs, articulate them and fight for them. Now I think some of that has already been echoed in the stuff that we've seen today, where people are going through training, through experiences, through working together, through action, and in that process they build power. Maybe not express it particularly in those sorts of ways, but that's what they're doing. And that power has created change, whether it's play parks or crossings moving or whatever it is. Nothing changes without power. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that the status quo is the status quo because it's always there? Everything always defaults to the status quo unless there's a power that's going to change it. Now, the communities that we work with and the sort of processes that we're involved in don't have huge financial power, maybe not have huge political power, but we've got vast potential resources of people power. And the kind of thinking behind community organising is that every time you engage in an action, a piece of training, a public meeting, a consultation, what you're trying to do, as well as the thing that's happening there and then, is to build power. To build confidence, to build structure, to build leadership, so that the community becomes a force to be reckoned with. Not people who can be marginalised, people who can be forgotten about, people who can be left on the sidelines. I think there are some complementary goals here. Potentially compatible values. I say potentially because all of this stuff is problematic. I mean, it's problematic in as much as for community development or for community organising, it's described in a whole multiplicity of ways. You know, for every 10 people you'll have a different definition of community development. Maybe the same for community organising. I'm trying to kind of synthesise a general sort of picture. So, Community development values are about equality, anti-discrimination, social justice, collective action, community empowerment, working and learning together. On this side we have, this is a quote from Saul Alinsky from his book Reveille for Radicals, which is an oldie but a goodie. Much the same as myself. He says, believing in people, the radical has the job of organising them so that they will have the power and the opportunity to best meet each unforeseeable future crisis as they move ahead in their eternal search for those values of equality, justice, freedom, peace, a deep concern for the preciousness of human life. I think there's some compatibility there. I think there's an echo on both sides of the same sorts of values. Now, community development can be sort of practiced without the values that are listed here, but it ceases to become community development. Community organising can be used as a technique abstracted from values from anyone who kind of wants to use them. But I would argue that that makes it something that's not community organising. And I suppose I've got a weather eye out on what's happening in the country in terms of the development of community organisers and community organising. If they have a value base like this, if it's about justice, if it's about freedom, if it's about equality, then community organising is a force to be reckoned with. If it doesn't have those values, then it just becomes another way of reorganising the poor, making them happy in their poverty. Now that's a charge that's levelled against community development as well, when it's practiced wrongly. Am I right? Yeah. It's true, isn't it? So there's an opportunity here that if the values that underpin community organising are solid and are real and are worked out, then there's an opportunity for something powerful potentially to happen. Okay, so that's kind of just trying to draw connections. I want to look a little bit at community organising. Some will have to keep me on time because I will rant and ramble, which we don't want really. Ed Chambers, who is head of the Industrial Areas Foundation, which is an organisation set up to support community organisers, community organisations across the states and beyond, says the haves never give the have-nots anything that's real. I'll just let that cook for a moment. There's an understanding that society is essentially unequal and that the status quo is always the default position. It's a conflict model. Now I think that there's some of this stuff that runs counter-culture because we are so immersed in the notion of partnership. We're so immersed in the notion of stakeholders and we're all in this together, aren't we? Not really. When the bankers went down and the economy crashed, did they take the hit the way we took the hit? I don't think they did. I think power changed, but I don't think the powerful's position was changed at all. But I think the ramifications of that are experienced throughout communities all across this country. There are the haves and the have-nots. And so this is a model that says this is iniquitous. It's unjust. It's wrong. And we have to stand up and say, this is wrong and we're going to change it. And I think that's community development stuff at its heart. I told you about the ranting. Oh, for goodness sake. So you call this laying it on with that trowel. Just in case you haven't fully read that, follow the beam. Get off. Get off. Goals. Here another exact expression of community organising goals. The equitable redistribution of wealth and power to assure each person the necessities of healthful physical survival and the maximal realisation of human potential. It's American, by the way, just in case you hadn't responded it. Inviolable, I could do it in an American accent if that would help. Inviolable communities on a planet safeguarded from degradation. A multicultural communal space where various identities can shine and interact in an environment of equally shared power and mutual respect. I thought it was important to kind of put that. This is 1996, so it's a development of the kind of the earlier stage, which was quite raw, very conflictual, very in your face. It's developed across the years into all sorts of different forms of practice.